Next show up is joined today with Adam Thier, who just spoke at a broadband symposium put on by Catholic University Communications Law Institute. Adam is the president of PFF, the Progress and Freedom Foundation, and he just finished up a debate with Ben Scott from Free Press discussing net neutrality and the open internet. Thanks for joining us today, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
At the beginning, you discussed 5 cases against net neutrality. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure. I tried to make a 5-part case against net neutrality regulation. The first part being legal, the second part being economic, the third part being an engineering case against, the fourth part being the practical case, and the fifth part being sort of a philosophical case against regulation. To briefly itemize each of those, the legal case against net neutrality is that the FCC just simply doesn't have the authority here and is trying to construe authority from things that don't really give them the authority. Moreover, to the extent that they plow forward on these rules, these regulations could end up being a real litigation nightmare, I think, for the Commission and be bogged down in courts for years. On the economic case against, the argument I made is essentially that the FCC's net neutrality regulatory regime could end up greatly retarding innovation and investment in next-generation networks, and that it could really have a deleterious impact on the overall Internet economy if the entire focus is on the edge of networks and not also innovation at the core, which is equally important. The engineering case against is basically that we shouldn't be freezing networks in stone. We should not have a set of standards applied that say today's internet is the only internet we'll ever know, and saying that we have to essentially stop here and not allow any further innovation. The practical case against comes down to the fact that the FCC is essentially just not very good at regulating fast-moving, high-tech industries or networks, and quite frankly, the problem that I fear even more from a practical perspective is that of regulatory creep or expansion, and the fact that the FCC could grow its regulatory tentacles in a big way here. And the fifth and finally, the sort of philosophical case against, or principled case against net neutrality regulation comes down to the fact that, do you believe in markets or not? Do you believe in hands off the net or not? Do you think we should continue the experiment we started with the Telecommunications Act of 1996, where we said competition was better than public utility-style regulation? And then finally, I would just make the point that there are some legitimate First Amendment issues here, free speech issues having to do with regulation. And the other side always goes around saying that net neutrality is the Internet's First Amendment, but I disagree. The First Amendment is the Internet's First Amendment, and it says Congress shall make no law.
Great. Thanks for joining us today, Adam.
Thanks for having me.